Hey guys, welcome to today's tutorial. We're going to be going over how to set up Visual Studio Code, getting into it and writing our first few lines of code. Um, the first the first line of code we're going to write is going to be the hello world. This is like the beginners type thing, to where when you're first, becoming a new programmer or developer, it's always, tradition to go in here and write hello world into the console. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Google and we'll type in Visual Studio Code. There it is. It's going to bring up this right here, Visual Studio Code. Code is recognized across many industries. It's compatible on all platforms. I say all platforms, all three platforms. It's compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's easy to install. It's lightweight. It don't take it's not a huge download to download code into it. Super simple. It's easy to get into. Just download a couple extensions for whatever language you're going to be using, and what we're going to be using is C++. So let's get into it. So back over here in our window where we have code set up for download, there's a little drop down, and whatever you're using, if you're using Mac, Windows, or Linux, there's going to be a download package for you to download and install. Just go ahead and go through that little setup. It don't take very long. Like I said, it's a very lightweight download. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, once you get that set up, this is for our Windows users. What I want you to do is go down here and type in developer, and this should pop up. If not, go ahead and type in developer command prompt and pin this to your taskbar. And we're going to be using this. So go ahead and open it up and type in code, and this is going to open up your Visual Studio Code. This is the first step in setting up code for Windows. This is not for Linux or Mac. This is just for Windows. Um, the next portion, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our terminal, um, click on terminal, and click on new terminal. Once you open up your new terminal, is going to be inside PowerShell. So if we type in CL, hit enter, it's optimized it and it's ready to write code. So, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back, do a little dance jig, whatever you want to do. This is letting you know that we are ready to write code, but there's always a but in there. We are actually going to switch this around and we're going to use our command prompt for our shell. So in order to do that, we'll go here and we'll say select default shell. And right here where it says command prompt, we're going to click on that. It didn't do anything, so and don't freak out. The reason why I didn't do anything is because we got to open up a new shell. So hit the little plus button here, or you can always go up to here and select new terminal. But we went ahead and did that. We're going to type in the same thing, type in CL. We are optimized and ready to compile to command prompt. Um, and leave it. You can leave it on CMD, or if you're like me and you're OCD, I like to go back, delete stuff I'm not going to be using because we're going to be using CMD. The next portion of the setup, I want you to go up here to File. Mine's already checked, but go ahead and check this. Put it back on. Make sure you're auto saving, because as a beginner, it's very easy to forget to save as you start writing code, especially if you're following videos, and you're watching video after video after video after video, and you forget to save, and then if you either close your laptop or you turn off your desktop or whatever you do or exit out of it, that's super easy to do too. But once you get out of it, it's gone. It's not there anymore unless you're auto saving. So always have autosave checked on. It's just kind of like a little backup, that way just in case you do forget. So I'm gonna go ahead and maximize this. And then right up here where the two little pages are at, it's gonna open up our Explorer. And we're gonna say open folder. And at this portion, if you want to have a specific folder where you want to save your stuff, you're more welcome to do that. I've already got a folder made and ready for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that folder. And it's going to open this up inside here. So here's the folder that we just went to and opened up. We're going to take that off. I don't know why I opened that one up. It's just having a little mind of its own. So this is the folder that we just opened. you can collapse it down. Mine's UV repos, which is short for Unreal repositories. It's going to give you 4 buttons. You've got new file, new folder, refresh, and collapse folders inside here. We're not going to create a new folder yet. We're just going to create a new file. And before we do this, I want you to ensure, this goes back to the first setup portion of it, is ensure that you're using the correct extension. So, and what do I mean by that? So if you were to go in here and you type in hello world, if you want to follow along with this, you can. That's no problem. We'll fix it. .cpp, and what CPP means is C++. And since I've already got the extension downloaded into code itself, it gives me this little icon right here. Now, if I were to back out of that and say CS, it's going to give me this little icon with a little C# on the bottom. I don't know if you can see there or not, but it's there. Or if I were to type in .java, it's going to bring in Java. So whatever you put at the end of it, the dot whatever is whatever language you're telling code, hey, I'm writing in this type of code. So we're going to go back to CPP. And like I said, if yours don't have this yet, that's no problems. We will fix that. We'll hit enter. And now it brought this up, and it may have brought up a little window over here in the corner saying, hey, I don't really have this language downloaded into my memory bank. Let's go ahead and install it. Or you can go over here to where it has the little blocks. The little building blocks is what I like to call it. And you can type in, it's right here, but you can also type in c./C++ and hit enter, and it's going to bring this up right here. And make sure you're using the one from Microsoft. It's going to have millions of downloads, and it's very supported. It's backed by Microsoft. So make sure you have this downloaded and installed, and if you don't, go ahead and do it and meet me back here. Okay, so let's write our first line of code. Let me go back to my file, and what we're going to type is int main, and at the end of the parentheses, I'm going to hit enter and create 2 curly brackets. And when you do that, I did it kind of quick. Let me back that back out. When you hit enter and you hit shift where the curly brackets are at, right above the square brackets, when you hit that, it automatically populates both curly brackets. That's IntelliSense saying, hey, I know you're needing this. I'm going to go ahead and put this into here. And IntelliSense is something that was downloaded whenever you downloaded code itself. It's kind of like a little helper. It tries to read what you're fixing to write. So once you have that, you can hit enter again, and it will automatically space it out to where you can start writing code inside here. So what is this? Int main is a function altogether. This whole little bit right here is a function. Int is short for integer. Integers can only take in whole numbers. They can't take in decimal numbers, just like it was when using algebra. They're whole numbers. Main is the name of our function. So when the compiler reads, it's reading the int main and saying, oh, okay, this is the name of the function. And then it's reading these parentheses. Now, I know right now that the parentheses don't seem like they're doing anything because, well, they're not. But they can do something. Let's say we wanted to go into our parentheses and you want to type in a certain argument or pass in a certain argument. Whether it's a argument type of bool or boolean, and and it is dead, or whatever it is, whatever argument you want to type in. Once you type this into here, you have to pass that argument inside here also. Or if not, it's going to give you an error, and it's going to say, code's going to say, hey, I can't complete this because you're not completing the argument that's being passed in here. Don't worry about that. We're not going to pass any arguments into it. Next, what we're going to do for our first little bit, to compile our code and learn to compile our code, we're going to type in return 0. Now I want to point something else out that goes along with the IntelliSense. So if you notice, whenever I first started typing return, It automatically started populating, but it also did something else too. It gave these little red squiggly lines. And not only did it do that, but it turned our code red also over here. So what code's doing is it's trying to warn you of every way possible it can that hey, your code's not finished. There's something you're missing. It's not going to tell you exactly what you're missing, but it's going to tell you that you're missing something. So finish this out, go back to return 0. What this is saying inside the function body, this is the body. Anything that you type in between both curly brackets is your body. What we're saying inside here is we're going to return a value of 0. So now it's time to compile and run our code. So the way we compile our code, if you are using, this is for our Macs and Linux users, if you're using that, you'll type in G++ hello world .cpp -o hello world. Oh, if I could type correctly, it would work out correctly. I can't run it because I'm on Windows, but this is if you're running on Mac or Linux, this is how you have to compile your code. Now for Windows users, what we're going to type in is like we did earlier. We'll type in cl hello world .cpp. It's a little bit simpler. But one thing I do want to point out is whenever we first wrote our file name, whenever we named this script, we named it with a capital H and a capital W. What we didn't do though is whenever we get ready to compile the code, we did not capitalize the H and the W. We left everything lowercase. Just be sure you pay attention that anytime you go to write your compile inside the terminal that you don't put the H in the W, okay? Because it will throw an error. So hit enter, and what this is saying all in here is that it is compiled just like earlier. It has compiled the code, and the code being this right here. This is our function. It compiled our function, and there were no errors, so you can progress further. So if we were to run our code or execute our code, since we compiled it, now you got to execute it. You would type in hello world and just hello world and hit, oops, sorry, and hit enter, but it's not going to do anything. Why is it not going to do anything? Because we're not passing anything into it. We're just saying return 0, which means there's nothing being returned or nothing being passed through here other than 0. Okay, so pat yourself on the back, do a little jig because you just compiled and wrote your first line of code. Now, you didn't write it to the console because it didn't print anything out into the console. So now what we're going to do is we're going to space this down, and we're going to type in hash mark include IO stream. There's that IntelliSense working again. Gotta love it. And now you're probably wondering, well, what is this doing up here? So what is it doing up there? The include portion of the first portion that we wrote is a preprocessor directive. Say that 5 times. Preprocessor directive. I don't think I can. The IO stream is what we call a header file or a library. This tells, and this being the include, this preprocessor directive, it tells the compiler to copy the components of this library or this header file. And what that does is it's whatever has already been pre-written by another programmer and sitting inside this header file, we can use inside our own code. And so whenever we compile the code and the preprocessor says, hey, I need you to copy all these components because there's going to be something passed through here that's using these components. Now, so back in our function, in our code, we are going to go back into the function body. I'm just going to take this out because we're not going to use it, and I don't like having things in there that we're not going to use. So What we're going to type now is std space cout space quotation marks hello world exclamation point. We're going to end that with a semicolon. Now, once again, what is this? The line of code you just wrote is std is a general purpose polymorphic wrapper. Say that one 5 times. It's a namespace. So what this is saying is this is the name of our code or of what we just wrote. Um, the double semicolons are a scope operator. This tells the compiler to check for code inside the namespace. And what does the namespace do also is it allows you to have more than one piece of code written without having the problems of having a double named code. If that makes sense. So you could have std uh, cout hello world, and then you can have std cout goodbye, or goodbye world, whatever you want to call it. But think of this as like a last name, and this last name could be the same last name over here. So you could have a Doe, and this would be John, and then you could have a Doe, and this would be Ron. And so it works that way. You could have more than one std namespace, but you won't be repeating the same code and having all kinds of errors pop up. So cout is used to produce output to the console, meaning that whatever comes after this, the compiler knows that okay, once I read this to cout, I know there's going to be something else I have to put out to the console. And then lastly, we have our hello world inside the quotation marks. Anything inside here is called a string reference, and what that means is a string can hold a sequence of characters. So a character would be H or E or L or L or O. Uh, one letter is a character, and so what a string does is it holds a sequence of characters that we use to make words with. And then we end it off with the semicolon. And what the semicolon does is it tells the compiler that, hey, this code is done. There's nothing else after this. Move on to the next line. All right. Okay, just like before, we're going to go down to our terminal, and we're going to type in co hello world .cpp, enter. And what this just did, once again, it compiled our code, and it didn't give us any errors or any runtime errors, so that's always a plus. Always makes you feel good, or makes me feel good. We're going to type in hello world again. We'll hit enter, and there it is. Hello world. You just printed out your first line of code to the console. This is a very big step. I know it may not feel like it is, but this is. You did something that every beginner coder programmer does is print out to the console hello world and run and compiled your first line of code without any errors. So once again, give yourself a pat on the back, do a little jig, and let's continue on. What I would like for you to do now is to take what you just learned and take it out. Don't like take it out like swim the fishes, take it out, but take it out and write out hello, my name is dot dot dot, or hello, my name is whatever your name is. Um, and print that out to the console. This would be your second line or your second printout to the console to kind of help concrete those basic foundations into your mind. And if you want to do a little extra, what I call extra credit or a little extra step, um, take this, hello, my name is, and print it out on two separate lines. Meaning the first line will say hello, and the next line will say my name is dot 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 or whatever your name is. So go ahead and give that a shot. You may do a little Google search, but I'm sure and I'm positive you can figure this out. I'll see you back here. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too challenging for you, and I hope you got it out, got it to print out on two separate lines. If not, no big deal. Just follow along with me, and we'll go through this and figure this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control Copy, or actually Control C or Command C, and we're going to copy that line. I'm going to hit Enter, Control V. Control V pastes it to it, or Command V. Hit Enter one more time, and Control V again. And now we've got the same line of code written out all three different times. If you were to compile and run this, it would print it out, but it would not print it out the way we want it to print it out. Actually, let's go ahead and print this out, and just so I can give you a reference of what it's going to do. So if we type in cl hello world.cpp, no runtime, no compile errors, hello world, and this is what it does. Hello world, hello world, hello world. This is not what we wanted to do. What we wanted to do is to print this out on different lines. So first and foremost, let's take this out, and then we'll take this out. We'll say my name is Travis, and then this is the line that we have to fix. So like I said, hopefully you figured this out. If not, it's okay. We're going to take this completely out, and we have std double colon c out, and we're going to type in std again, double colon, and we're going to type in end or end l. And what this does is when the compiler reads through our code, and it starts up here and it reads down through it, and it says hello, and it reads our next line of code, and it goes to the end of this, and it says, oh, there's nothing here, but we have an end l or end line. And what this is saying is there's nothing being printed on this line, create a new line. And so when it creates the new line and it reads our next line of code, which is my name is Travis, it's going to print this out on a new line. So let's go ahead and print this out. So we'll compile it once again. CL hello world.cpp, enter. We had no errors, always a good thing. Hello world, enter. And as you can see, since we added this in line after hello and before my name is, it took that and it says hello, my name is Travis, or whatever your name is, or if you just put the dot 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 or whatever you did. So once again, pat yourself on the back, do a little jig, because not only have you printed out one line of code, but you've printed out two lines of code on two separate lines. It's always a plus, always a feel good moment, if you know what I mean. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something from it. Um, One of the main things that I always try to stress is to take notes. Even though this is simple, this is a lot to take in for a new beginner. So if you have to, or if you was already taking notes, but if you have to, pause the video, go back through it again, take notes, write down, the steps that we took to get to this point, to kind of help concrete the fundamentals of writing code, the basics, because you can't script a full game without knowing how to do the basics, and these, my friends, are the basics. So I hope you had a good time.